I'm going to start off by just maybe going through maybe some of the EBI and some of the advances or some of the changes to it there in recent times. The carbon side of it came into it probably 2 years ago, so just rewarding animals for their longevity and staying in the herd. Also, maybe their or their solid constituents also. The other change only came in last year was the TB coming into it. So TB is worth 3% of the health sub-index at this stage. No great changes to the other sub-indexes. Production still worth 32% of the overall figure, fertility 25%. Yeah, okay. So on to just the base cow, where the base cow is currently. It's a third lactation.
Paul, you're muted there. Sorry. Yeah, muted there.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's better now. Yeah, it's grand.
Yeah. Yeah, a third lactation cow producing 6,000 kgs of milk with a calving interval of 399 days. So that cow, taken that base cow, 391 fat, 343 protein. So that cow is producing 443 milk solids. And that's your base cow. Everything that is in positive in EBI is going to be better in that cow in different ways. Um, so yeah, just my main focus for the next 10 minutes is really going to be about selecting your cows and improving the selection of your cows to get better genetic gain, I suppose. So like if your herd is average of 100 euros in EBI, that well the average being 100, half your cows are greater than 100 and half of them are less than 100. So just increasing the selection of your or within your own herd. So I just want to bring your attention then to two kind of case studies I have here. Cow one has an overall EBI of 246 euros, with a milk sub-index of 58 euros and a fertility sub-index of 146 euros. Similarly, cow number two, overall EBI 254 with a milk sub-index of 55 and a fertility sub-index of 123. But more to the point, I suppose I want to bring your attention to within that milk sub-index. I want to look at the milk PTAs. So for kgs of milk, you'll see that that first cow is minus 208 kgs of milk, but with a fat percentage of 0.26 and a protein percentage of 0.21. So if I go on, um, I'm just trying to work out exactly what that means versus the base cow. So that minus 208 kgs, we multiply that by 2, which equates to 416 euro. So we can say that that cow number one, from a genetic point of view, has the potential to produce 416 kgs of milk less than the base cow. So she's going to be a 5,628 kg genetic potential in that cow. And similarly, from a percentages point of view, we're trying to work out what that cow's predicted fat and protein will be. And so again, we have kind of a formula to work that out. We put in our 0.26, we multiply it by 3.94, and we add 3.93 to get her predicted fat or her genetic potential. She has the potential to do 495 fat and 4.16 protein. So when we multiply those percentages out on the total kgs, that 5,600 figure, we think that that cow has potential to do 513 kgs of milk solid. Similarly, what we're trying to demonstrate here, if we work it out for the second cow, who is plus 200 kgs in the PTAs for milk, so that equates to 400 kgs. Add that on over the base cow, gives you a yield of 6,448 kgs. Again, we multiply out the predicted fat and protein, and when we put that across the overall yield, we get a figure of 488 kgs. So again, just in conclusion, I suppose what we're trying to do is bring your attention to not just looking at the overall milk sub-index of 58 euros, but looking deeper at it and looking at the PTAs, whether those cows are plus or minus for overall milk, and more so looking at the percentages. We want to pick those cows that have high percentages to select from. So if you're starting from a strong base, the bulls that you pick will only improve the thing further. Just in relation to the maintenance sub-index, we get lots of questions on this, but how is it calculated? So that base cow with a zero euro sub-index for maintenance, that cow weighs 640 kgs, our base cow, 640 kgs live weight. And so for every €1 is equivalent to 5 kgs. So down here, my example in the corner is the Kildalton herd. And Kildalton herd has a maintenance sub-index figure of €18. So if I multiply the €18 by 5, it equates to 90 kgs of body weight. So the average cow in the Kildalton herd is going to be 90 kgs lighter than the base cow of 640. So we can say we can make a fair stab in saying that the live weight of those Kildalton cows is 550 kgs. We often get the question of, well, sure, what should we be aiming for? What is a good maintenance figure? And generally speaking, it's very farm specific. If you ask guys, are they happy with the size of their animals? People generally want to keep their cows in or around the same size. Generally speaking, I suppose larger herds, we tend to see that maintenance figure get a little larger. By virtue, the animals are a little bit smaller, they're traveling or walking larger distances as herds get bigger. But yeah, just keeping it in tabs on it, I suppose, when you're picking bulls, that you'll pick plus or minus maybe 10 or 15 euros outside of your own maintenance sub-index, and understanding the workings behind it. Each euro is worth 5 kgs. That's the maintenance sub-index. And again, where I want to bring that maintenance sub-index back to is the weight of our heifers and maybe trying to keep heifers on target. Um, Only 75% of the heifers of our heifers are calving down between 22 and 26 months. So this is where this chart comes in. Understand where your own herd's maintenance figure is at, and this chart breaks down what weight those animals should be at 6 months at breeding, and there before calving. So I suppose by maybe weighing your heifers now, we're a little bit off of breeding. Maybe we can get them to that 60% of their mature weight at breeding, by maybe feeding them on a little bit now, or just seeing that they're on target. But these kind of advances are taking this kind of an initiative now will greatly maybe improve your conception rates, and improving that 75% figure. 75% of our heifers have only calving down at 22 to 26 months. A slide I just have on maybe improving, I mentioned from the outset, selecting cows, then in select, great, we have great potential to improve our selection efficiency, and with that, maybe using sex semen. Why would we use it? It's 90% biased. Generate more, obviously, females from the best dams. All dairy replacements born at the start of the calving season in kind of one good block. Reducing the male dairy calves is probably the biggest one, and increasing the value of those calves if they're of more beef merit. So just we're going to focus on that, using sex semen on our most fertile dams. So in relation to heifers, they're genetically the most advanced animals that we have on the farm, but just again making sure that they're on target, target weight, target condition, and that they are cycling. So we might do pre-breeding cycling, maybe 3 or 6 weeks beforehand, make sure that they are cycling regularly. And the same principles go for cows. Often you might have your best cows, or looking at your milk recording, or that cows that you do want to breed heifers from. You can absolutely use sex semen on these cows, but I'd be just cognizant of the following criteria that they are, generally speaking, younger animals, younger parity animals, or cows in their first to fourth lactation, I have wrote here, are going to be of higher fertility status. Um, that the cows are greater than 50 days in milk, that they're cycling, that they're in good condition, they're over three, they're not in negative energy. Um, and similarly, that there's no health issues, so no retained placentas or any milk fevers or anything that would disturb that cow's kind of her cycling or her cycling rhythm. So maintaining good health records and obviously be particularly selective on those dams. These we can maybe put a tick or earmark some cows right now, but really it isn't until maybe 3 weeks before breeding that we can nail down that yeah, that cow has had a good spring, no hiccups, and follow through with sex semen. Similarly, then, just around the sex semen and the timing of AI is one of the biggest issues around the conception of it, yeah, the conception rate for it. So, I have a chart there just on when we should be AIing those animals, 14 to 20 hours after the onset of heat. So you need very good heat detection. The advances in collars and that has given people great confidence with that. Um, Similarly, that maybe if we are doing it, that we're doing it twice a day, and if we're not doing it twice a day, well, just bearing in mind that if the animal is still showing active heat, well, they're not a candidate for sex semen. They have to be gone off heat in a sense. So using conventional straws, if they are still on heat. So I'm going to drive this on another little bit, but selecting cows for dairy AI, not all about the bull. Increase your selection around the female side of it, the cow side of it. Be very selective with your cows. Just a small little example here, but if you were to pick your those cows out of your whole herd, um, versus the top 50% of them. The example here, if your EBI was €241, whereas you dropped the poorer 50% of those and just selected from the top 50% of them, you would be increasing your selection and your expected PTAs for fat and protein also. So getting out your own EBI reports from the ICBF, looking at those milk sub-indexes and picking those higher proportion cows, those cows with higher percentages. And when we're not breeding for dairy, um, we'll breed for beef. And that brings me on to the beef sub-index and the commercial beef value. So each of each bull, all bulls dairy are in the dairy catalogs, they'll have a dairy beef index. So this index includes the calving, the beef side of it, and also the carbon sub-index, three indexes within it. And those animals it's going to come eventually whereby the people buying those calves are going to be looking at this DBI and they're going to be buying animals based on it. So again, breeding better beef bulls for, I suppose, marked or for sale to go into the beef side of the house. One other thing to be cognizant of, just when we are selecting our beef bulls, that keeping in mind the dairy beef welfare scheme, worth €50 a calf up to 40 calves, so it's worth €2,000. A lot of you would have been in the scheme last year or entered into the scheme, but it's great money for simply picking bulls that are 3 stars plus on the beef sub-index. If you're using stock bulls, just make sure your stock bulls are genotyped and that they are 3 stars plus. So you qualify simply by when you register your calf. Once it's registered to a beef breed that's 3 stars plus, you'll qualify for that. Actually, it's €40 on the first 50 calves of that, the wrong way around. So my final slide is just being conscious of yeah the selection pressure, but similarly that in order to keep the reliability of our overall bulls high, that we select enough bulls. So a simple enough chart there, 0 to 100 cows in the herd, that we're using at least seven bulls. And absolutely the reliability of the difference between the daughter proven and the genomic bulls, the reliabilities have greatly lessened. I suppose you'll get reliabilities of the high 60s for genomic now, whereas daughter proven, it's maybe the high 70s or into the 80s for some of the sub indexes. So don't be afraid to go after the genomics, but just using enough of those bulls to increase the overall reliability. So with that, Pat, that's nearly my 20 minutes. I'll hand over to you. I'll stop sharing.
You're still sharing there now, Paul.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry, if I go, if you, can you share on top of mine, Pat? No?
see now. You see that screen now?
Just stop sharing.
It's working away, is it?
I think I'm sharing now. Can you see the ICBF screen, Aina?
Yeah, we can see that. That's it.
No.
You can see it, Aina, yeah? Okay, thanks, Laura. Yeah,
I think we're going back to Paul's there now.
yeah. All right. You see it there now, Aina?
Yeah,
The
that's
ICBF one.
perfect.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So Patrick Dunphy's my name, a dairy advisor here in the office as well. So I'm just going to touch a little bit on ICBF, okay, and a bit on bull selection. So um, just seeing if this works. Can you see the bull selection targets there in or do I need to
Yeah,
go again? Yeah,
perfect.
okay. So these are kind of rough bull selection targets for this year. EBI of over 230, your team average of 320, fertility over 100, team average 140, milk over 70, team average of 100, health over €5, team average of a tenner, carbon positive, your maintenance positive, and management be positive as well. I suppose, look, just a bit of a warning on this, like when you're picking bulls out of a catalogue, the highest EBI bull is not necessarily the best bull in the catalogue and not necessarily the best bull for your herd. So generally, when we're picking bulls, don't really look at EBI. We look at everything else. So you look at fertility and milk and health, maintenance, carbon, all them other factors. And if the bulls are good enough in that, they're going to have a high EBI. So EBI is kind of a result of everything else. And you saw Paul's first slide there, of what makes up EBI. So there's a number of different factors, a number of different parts to EBI. So just picking a bull purely because he's the highest EBI bull in the catalogue or the highest EBI bull in the active bull list doesn't necessarily mean he's the best bull in the country, and he mightn't necessarily be the best bull for your herd. Again, these criteria, look, they're kind of a rough criteria. When you're picking bulls, it's very herd specific. Like what suits your herd mightn't suit the Kildalton herd, and vice versa, or anyone else's herd. So, like the Kildalton herd, for example, is very strong in fertility. So maybe they might decide maybe to go more down the bit more breed a bit more milk into the herd, or maybe go down the solids route a bit harder. And because they have that fertility in the herd, they might need to focus in as much on fertility. You're not going to be able to breed for everything all in one go. So you might zone in on an area of your herd that you're not happy with and trying to improve that over the years. Just beef selection bulls then, I suppose really look, if you're looking at a herd that's minus beef, I suppose what the slide is, if you're minus for beef, you're using a higher DBI bull to compensate for that. So if you're maybe minus 13 or 15 or minus 20 for beef, you're going a higher DBI bull to try and produce a calf with a higher CBV. If you've a good beef sub-index for the dairy herd, you don't need to go as hard on the DPI. So you're just trying to balance out the lower beef figure in the dairy herd with a higher beef figure from the DPI bulls. Okay, so I'll just go back to ICBF now. So can you see the ICBF screen there, lads?
Yeah, we can see
Yeah,
that there.
perfect. Okay, so this is the Kildalton herd. So if you want to do sire advice, come into the ICBF and applications and sire advice, and this screen will come up here. Okay, so I'm going to start a new run. It's asking, do you want to use sex semen? And we'll just keep it straightforward. Just use a start date of the 1st of May. Okay, so the first screen that comes up is all the cows in the herd. Okay, and you have a number of different filters here to filter out the cows and pick the cows you want to breed from. So I suppose you have a number of different filters there to pick the cows you want to breed from. So you can select your cows there. Do you want to select them for sex semen? Are they being selected for culling? Are they being selected for beef? Maybe you're doing selective mating or crossbreeding as well. So you can select your cows here. It's also worth maybe printing off your EBI report before you start. You go through the PTAs for the cows, what Paul showed earlier on. And the milk recording report, if you milk record as well. You have an awful lot of very good data from the milk recording lifetime performance report. Your cows that are in red in that report aren't cows you want to be breeding from. So if you have the EBI report and your milk recording report beside you when you're picking your cows, you know what the cows can do genetically and you know what they've actually done in the year gone by. So you have a good idea what the best cows in your herd are. Um, you might have a cow that didn't do very well last year, but genetically she's very good. She might be still worth putting a straw on, a dairy straw on to try and get a heifer out of. But for whatever reasons, last year she didn't perform. It doesn't mean that she doesn't. Her genetics are still very strong, but it might be something might have happened last year. Just the year it was quite rough. She mightn't have performed as well. So I suppose you have your number of different filters here. You can filter it out on your animal tag numbers here. Um, you can filter it on EBI. So we might maybe say from the lowest cows, maybe 140 up. Okay, so it's from cows from 140 or even like and from that's our highest cows. So maybe say from 240. There's no cows there, 240, 60 to 200. Okay, so 200, they are our lowest DPI cows in the Kildalton herd, and you can see they're already selected for beef there. Okay, so you might decide all bottom 20% of cows for EBI, they might be the cows you might decide you're not going to put a straw to them, they're going to be selected for beef. Equally, you can select it on your PTAs for fat and protein. So the PTAs for the Kildalton herd for fat is 0.16 and for protein is 0.13. So you really don't want to be selecting anything below that, okay? Because that's the average for the herd, and you're trying to get genetic improvement all the time. So you're trying to breed from at least them or better. So at least them cows are better. I'll give you your cows down here as well. Okay, so just for the purposes of demonstration now, I'll take a few cows here for sex semen. We have a few cows for beef. We'll allocate a few cows here to cull as well. But again, look, when you're doing this, you have your list in front, your EBI report printed off in front. You might have a milk recording report as well. You're spending a bit more time going through each cow and deciding what you're going to use on them. And if we come down here to these, okay, these animals here, you see they say they're days calved, that's your heifers there, okay? So they are going to be genetically the best cows in the herd, okay? They're worth putting a straw on. Okay, definitely it's worth breeding heifers if you can at all. I know at some farms are on an out farm, it might be easier to use a beef bull, but if you can breed from your heifers, it's well worthwhile. Okay, genetically they're the best animals in the herd, so we'll put a few of these heifers in for sexed as well. And then we just save changes there. So it's important as you go along to save the changes. Our next screen then is we're coming into the bulls. So you've your active bull list. I'll always select all bulls. So it's all the bulls that are available. So the advantage of this is you can scroll through. There's 1,300 bulls there. you can filter out the bulls, to be going through pages and pages of catalogs. Okay, so you can filter out all the bulls that are available without having to go through all the catalogs. So you've all the different criteria here for filtering. Okay, we've our breed, we've our dairy EBI, we've our EBI sub-indexes, our milk PTAs, our fertility PTAs, our calving records. You've the different AI companies, the proof. Okay, is it daughter proven? Is it genomic sire? Is it pedigree or not? The confirmation. And you also have sexed or conventional. Okay, so I'm just going to pick sexed bulls here. So we're down to 470 bulls. We were at 1,300 bulls. And we look at our dairy EBI index. Again, as I said earlier on, I won't select on EBI initially. I'll select on the indexes first. So our milk. So the figure we have here in the brackets is the milk figure for the Kildalton herd. So for milk, it's €69, fertility 123, carbon 12, and so on and so forth. If you want genetic improvement, you're selecting at least that or better for the herd, for the bulls, okay? You don't want to be going backwards. So you're selecting a bull with a milk figure of at least, there in that case, €70. So I'm just going to move my slider from left to right. So we've in around the 70 mark there. Fertility for the herd in Kildalton is very good, 123. Now, once you go above 90 or 100, there's no real advantage to, having a bull with massive fertility when the herd already has strong fertility. Once the cow's in calf, the cow's in calf. You can't do much more for it after that. So, going over 90 or 100 isn't a massive advantage to the Kildalton herd. They already have a strong fertility figure. If the fertility is something you want to improve in your herd, then definitely you're going for a bull with stronger fertility. So look, we'll just match the 123 there. So we're down to 142 bulls. Carbon, we want carbon to be positive. Our maintenance figure. Now the maintenance figure for Kildalton herd is €16. So it's around kind of a 560 kilo cow. We'll try and maintain that figure. So in around the €16 again. Our management. So management is important. I suppose, look, that's stuff like temperament and milking speed. So we want our management to at least be positive as well. Okay, so we're down to 30 bulls now. Our health figure. So a lot of work has been done on health in the last couple of years, and there's a strong correlation between the health figure and TB resistance. So you would notice that in a lot of the AI catalogs this year, TB resistance for bulls. So for that, like, look, the health figure here for the herd is 6. We devise a health figure around €5 for the bull selection. So we go at least 6 again. And then we're into our milk PTAs. So our milk kilos up here is the volume. Okay, so ideally we want to try and be getting our milk solids through percentages and not through volume. So we try and take out the bulls that have an awful lot of volume there. So down to 27, and we don't want bulls. We still want a certain amount of volume to carry their percentages. So we're taking away the bulls on the other end then as well. So they kind of say maybe around 200 either side. So we're down to 21 bulls there. Protein for the herd is 0.13. So we want at least that again. Our fat, 0.16. Our milk kilos, 8.7. So we'll go 8.7 again. And our fat kilos, 10. Okay, so you see I'm left with a list of 16 bulls. Okay, and we go back up to our EBI now. 258, that's probably not going to take out too many. The recommended for the bull list was 240, so we're above that now. So 250. We have 16 bulls still, so we can go a bit harder now on our milk PTAs. Okay, so the herd here for fat, for protein 0.13, fat 0.16. The advice would be For that, you want a protein of point 0.1 of 0.18 and fat of 0.26. For the herds with better percentages, be looking at a bull with PTA for fat of 0.3 and for protein of 0.2. So we'll work off the 0.3 and 0.2 now. 0.3. So we're down to a herd. We're down to 11 bulls. In terms of our milk kilos, then the herd here is 19. Our advice would be bulls at least plus 25 kilos of milk solids. And for the better herds who have good percentages, you might be pushing that up as far as 30. So again, we'll go with 30 kilos here. And you can see my list is starting to get smaller now. So we're kind of recommended for this herd, 100 cows, 110 cows. And Paul was advising that we go for at least 8 bulls in that team. So there's our 8 bulls now. Okay, there is jerseys in the Kildalton herd, so use that there as well. In terms of our heifers, you don't want to be putting a bull, you want a calving difficulty of less than 5% for our heifers. So there's 2 bulls there suitable for them. You want to be doing a little bit of research on those bulls as well, just going back and seeing what the calving records were like for their dams, etc., just to make sure that that is an accurate figure, especially when you're putting them on your heifers. So we'll select those 2 for sexed heifer, and we put the rest in for sexed cows, and we'll use them for conventional as well. So again, save changes. Okay, and on to next. So we have our bull team up here. We've 9 bulls in our bull team. You can manually enter bulls as well. Okay, so there might be bulls there that you might like, you've seen on the AI catalog, and they're not coming up in ICBF, which does happen, especially some of the newer bulls. They're bulls there born in 2024. You're not going to see them on your AI catalog. So they're ones you want to enter in manually. So we'll add bull. Okay, so there was one there. The Kildalton herd we're looking at 8709. Okay, so that's his herd. He's a bit hard calving for the heifers, so we'll only select him for the cows. And sixth. And we'll save our selection. And we go on to next. So we see we're bull team now at 10, and our bull team reliability is 97. If we had a smaller bull team, if we only pick 2 or 3 bulls, our reliability is going to be lower. So I suppose that's how we kind of counteract the genomic bulls. We ensure we have a big enough bull team. And we want to straw allocation. No bulls selected for heifers. It's okay. Okay, so you can kind of see there across the bulls that they're allocated for the cows. They allocate out the straws evenly across the herd. What we notice an awful lot in herds is you might have picked a bull team of 8, but there might be 2 bulls you use very strongly in the herd that you use very strongly when it coming to AI. So 2 bulls might have 50% usage between 2, so 25% each, and the other bulls might only be a couple of percent each. So it's important when that you do try and stick to the allocations as best possible and try to spread the risk. So there's no point picking enough bulls in the team and then only using 2 or 3 bulls in that team when it comes to AI and the cows. And we just run the sire advice then. 2, 6, okay. Okay. So I suppose the important thing with the sire advice, it'll give you 3 bulls for each cow. The first thing it's looking at is inbreeding. Okay, so it's trying to reduce inbreeding in the herd. So we have a cow here, we're after getting 3 options for that cow. So the first thing it does is look at inbreeding. It'll then match up cows in terms of fertility and then match up cows in terms of milk figure. So it doesn't match them up in terms of PTAs. It doesn't match them up in terms of maintenance. If it was to do that, if it was to match every bull with every cow perfectly, it would be a huge system, and it just wouldn't. The ICBF just doesn't have that capability. So once you've your three bull, picks your three bulls. It's important that you go into the bull, have a look at them yourself, and see, are you happy with that bull to match that cow? Option one isn't necessarily the best option for that cow. The best option for 2501 might be option three. So when you have your bull selected, from ICBF, it's important you go in and check and see, are you happy with that bull? Maybe the other bull selected might suit better. And we accept that then. We don't want to send that to the handheld, so you view our PDF. And that's what you're left with after your sire advice then. So as your cows in the herd, and matches up your cows and your bull one, bull two, and bull three. Okay. So I suppose look, the important things with this is to select your cows first of all. Okay, you're breeding from the best and beef for the rest. Might have your EBI report in front here, your milk recording report, along with using ICBF here to help select your best cows. So you know what the cow can do genetically, and you know from the milk record what you did last year. When you're looking at bulls, the bull team that suits the Kildalton herd mightn't be the bull team you're looking for. Every herd is different, so what you're looking for might be different as well. So important to recognize that too. And look, the important thing then as well, when you do after doing your bull selection and your after running your sire advice, that the first bull isn't necessarily the best bull for that cow, that there's three bulls there, the third bull or the second bull might be better fit than the first one. Okay. And again, look, if anyone has any issues with sire advice or want to call in and pick bulls, or you want to call in and pick cows, give any one of the four of us a ring and we can do that.